Welcome back to First on Film. I'm Gal Balaban here today with director Philip Clyde-Smith and writer Eliza Power of A Hand to Hold. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for having us.
Do you remember what are the earliest films that got you into the world of filmmaking? And what are some of the ones that you keep going back to watch over and over again?
Go on, Liza, you go.
Oh, me.
Yeah,
Mine are horror. That's the terrible thing about it. Mine's always horror. I probably shouldn't get my parents in trouble with this, but I remember being allowed to watch, those old Hammer horrors with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, like Dracula AD 1972, all those things. And I just loved kind of the over the top, ridiculous effects, very much in camera effects. Then things like, I used to watch loads of 80s horror. So Fright Night, The Lost Boys, that sort of thing. I wish I could give you Scorsese or Stanley Kubrick, or actually I will say Werner Herzog was somebody that I started watching in my teens. So Aguirre, Wrath of God and Fitzcarraldo, and I became like obsessed with Klaus Kinski and that sort of slightly, I don't know if the term's right, guerrilla filmmaking, where everything was just done on
Absolutely, yeah.
location.
That's right.
They put all of the, so much reality in it, that too. So I love the two ends of the spectrum. Crazy in camera puppetry effects and then guerrilla filmmaking. So that's me.
Yeah, I'm more basic. I'm basically. I remember watching film I still watch, and I mentioned it, and Eliza, you're pretty bored of this now. The Goonies. I keep going back to the Goonies. I've watched it. I still watch it every year, and it's the thing I remember watching as a kid, going, "I want to make that. That looks like a lot of fun." And it's definitely so. I'm definitely more. Definitely, that's what kicks me off initially into film. It's telling stories, and that made me grab a camera with my brothers and family and want to go and make it's cliched, isn't it? But like that's what I did as a kid and made films, which I think that's where it came from, the joy of telling
That's a great
stories.
one. Well, I think in A Hand to Hold, you really did a great job of balancing comedy and dread. Not necessarily panic at the start, like it maybe escalates into that, but definitely a dread. But that balance of humor and dread is just very natural to the characters, it feels. So I want to start by asking you, Eliza, when you started writing A Hand to Hold, what came first? Was it the tone, the characters, or like a specific image you couldn't shake and write around that?
Definitely the characters, and I think slightly the tone. I mean, I've said this to Phil before, but I was doing an Irish comedy TV show at the time when I first started writing. Well, the day I wrote A Hand to Hold, and I'd got very annoyed with the fact I kept being told to put lots of young characters in and take the older characters out. That as if their stories weren't important. And I thought, well, actually, a lot of the time older characters have got far more depth, far more history to mine than younger characters. So I just got really annoyed and I just decided I'm going to start writing scenes and send them over to this film production company. And I didn't, because I just started writing a scene between a couple, and I think all my horror obsession suddenly came in. It happened in one day. So it started with a almost like a, I think Phil, probably the term would be slightly melodrama at the beginning
Yeah.
between the two characters, and it just escalated. And that's how it escalates in the film. It was like a natural way of writing, then became the natural escalation in the film.
That's great. Well, I want to also ask about the dynamic between the couple in the opening moments. What did you think was, for both of you, like the most important thing to establish right off the bat between these two?
But always, from when I first read the script and developed it, especially in these treatment stages, I wanted to do a sleight of hand with the audience and say, "Oh no, it's another film about an old couple dying," and it's a melodrama. Exactly what Eliza wrote it as. It's like, and really play on that. It's a melodrama. It's going to be really sentimental, And there are a lot of short films about old people dying, and then suddenly it takes a weird turn. And I think and we played around a lot. I think in the edit about especially how long you make that, and also when do you start making it go weird, because it does start going weird almost in the second scene, but we try and not do it too much before it goes really weird later on. But yeah, I think it's playing with the audience's expectations, which is great fun.
I want to also talk about the makeup work, which is super impressive, especially with the corpses and the blood. And it walks a fine line between realism and something just slightly heightened in the world of, our favorite insane horror films. What was important to
Yeah.
get right in making those elements feel somewhat grounded within the room that it's set, but still tonally consistent?
I think, well, I mean, Eliza, maybe you can start with this, because we spoke about doing it in camera early on, because then I can talk about how we did it in the filming. But I think that's quite interesting. That's always been a thing we
Yeah.
liked as an aesthetic.
It's funny, yeah. I think from the minute we started talking about it, Phil and I both had the same idea that it would be more practical in-camera effects using, silicon, using effectively sort of puppetry in places rather than using CGI. I think when you've got something about a real couple that is quite grounded, that you do have these crazy characters coming in, but it is set, in one place. It's set in one room, effectively. If you start doing CGI, I don't think it would work. So I think right from the word go, we needed somebody, a talent who knew how to do the in-camera effects, and Phil got on that.
Yeah, and so I approached, yeah, and on that note, it was also, and also the truth is budget. Like even like say you had all the money in the world, you could actually possibly consider doing CGI work. But there's something for me, and it's films like Jason of the Argonauts and those early stop frame stuff, and horror films from the 70s and 80s, like The Thing, where, of course, if you really think about it, you can see behind, appear behind whatever the saying is. You know what I mean? Like you can, but there's something more magical about something that's real and in camera, and the audiences know that. Even today, with all the AI and CGI, there's something you still can't beat. Well, maybe, I don't know. People might argue against me now, but like that you can't beat something really filmed. I think there's an organic nature to it, and that will always be there, no matter what technology. And then anyway, so on that note, we were like, how the hell do we do this? And a producer who we got on board knew a makeup person who was about 22, but had a real penchant for doing horror, and she loved doing in-camera body, building animals and creatures and blood and guts, and that's her thing, her niche. But she really wants to. She's done a bit of it. Well, she did quite a few things, hasn't she?
She's done quite a few things. Music videos, horror films. She's really built her craft, and she studied. While she trained doing those.
Yeah, and she was just she's only 22, 23, 22, and
23 now. She's amazing.
Yeah, and we said, look, we have X amount of money, which wasn't very much. Could you do this? And she went, yes. And then we would need this. And she then went on about how much blood we would need. And I was like, right, we can't use a location house because we would destroy it. So we went, all right, we need to build a set. And then immediately, obviously, the budget gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're trying to contain that all. So she was really the catalyst why that look developed. And I think one of the things that always reminds you of, I am a director, but you surround yourself with these amazing people, and it's all about collaboration. At the end of the day, we steer it, but without these people, and they're way more talented than me. They just are. Like she's amazing. There's no way the amount she put 3 months of work. Like she's doing her normal everyday jobs, makeup artist on like lots of TV commercials and that kind of work. Every night she was back building these creatures, and I thought it was amazing, and it made me feel younger. I'm 46, and I went, yeah, that's what filmmaking's about. That's why it's that creative buzz, and it was really cool. It was really cool.
What advice would you have to people who want to get into low budget fantasy and horror filmmaking, but are not sure where to make the first step?
And Eliza, I think you should start, because it all starts. Where does it start? I mean, it's all about? Yeah, it all starts.
The story. Yeah, I think one of the things I learned was I felt my previous kind of work, I was always very restricted. So I either had, an agent telling me I had to play things down a lot, or I had a producer saying, oh, make sure that you don't go too far with this or don't go too far with that. I think go with your instincts and just write whatever feels most natural and right to you. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter how over the top or difficult to film it might seem. Just get everything down on paper and then find yourself a great director like Phil to actually make it happen.
Yeah, but it's about. I mean, I've been making films since I was young, and it's just having fun with it. Like, just go and do it. Like today, you can shoot a film on an iPhone or whatever phone you have. You can just do it, and then just don't. If you can't afford to show it on screen, use sound to describe it. There's lots of other ways of telling a story, and constraints are good because it makes you think creatively. And I think like nowadays you can make a film, and like this whole big thing with vertical content, there's always a new niche coming out, and it's like, go and do it. I think that's the only, and you've got to fail a lot of times and be told no, that's rubbish, and you just got to keep going. It's 99% perseverance, yeah, and 1% talent.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And like you said, I feel like in the world of, YouTube and content creation, anyone in their own way can be a filmmaker and first get their voice out there, and then from there assemble a wonderful group of talented people like you guys did. So what are you guys most excited? Is there a moment that you're most excited for people to see in this short?
I recently saw it at Fright Fest in Glasgow, which is the UK's biggest horror festival. And it was a room packed full of, I think it's about 300 horror fans, which is a bit, because horror, as horror fans, we are like, you don't have Marmite, do you? So that saying's not going to work. You love or hate it. Do you know what I mean? And so there was, because it starts as a melodrama, there's like 2 minutes of silence. And it's when the first laugh happens or the first reaction, then you're like, okay, it's working. So it's always that first initial, I don't know how it is for you, Eliza. Then I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. We went to the Santa Barbara Film Festival together, and I was exactly the same. I think I was like literally chewing my own hand off at that point. I was so nervous. I think what I just really want people to watch actually is going back to Eve and giving her more praise, is just seeing what she did, because she did have a team, but this is all from one young woman. All of that craziness that you see as it builds is, the result of one young woman building.
And then also the whole, like the art director, Cheryl, Dean, or DP. I mean, everyone's like, and a lot of the people I've worked with are from my TV commercial background, and it was amazing to get them. And I've worked with them lots and lots and lots, and to get them on board on a project where it's not for some client or brand. It's like we're having fun with this, and we're telling a story that really matters. And Dean was amazing on set. He'd always why haven't we tried this angle? Or have we told the story correctly? And he has, we were editing on the fly as we were shooting it. So we had Jay, who was editing, just putting the scenes together as we were shooting. So by the time we're shooting the next scene, we can have a quickly look at the scene we just shot to see what's working, what's not. And it's just that whole team collaboration. And you really, the set's amazing. It's one set. And it's just, 3 flats, and it took a day to build, and it's Cheryl and her team. It was amazing. It was just and then they're all when you see it on the big screen, there are all those little details she has put in that help build the story. There's a book called The Dictator, and he's into football, so there's an Irish football magazine or something, and then all these teeny details. I mean, there was spectacular. Yeah. You've seen there's one spectacular moment of slow motion.
So yeah, shout out to Eve there for that brilliant work that really catches your eye. And like you said, once you're in for the ride for the first moment, you're in for the rest of the short until the very end. To wrap up, I want to ask you guys, what are some movies or TV shows from recently that you guys have had the chance to watch and just feel like you have to recommend?
I will shout out a couple of the ones we watched in Santa Barbara, a couple of the shorts that we were in the same category as. There's one called Egg Timer. I've forgotten the name of the filmmaker, Phil, if you know that. But
Rosie. Is it Rosie? Rosie May. Oh.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really, really funny. And there was another one from a Swedish filmmaker called Earworm. So 2 shorts that I've seen recently.
That's really good.
They're both crazy, and they were 2 of my favorites at Santa Barbara that I would thoroughly recommend people.
Yeah. And then there's another on the horror festival circuit at the moment. There's a British film called Plastic Surgery. It's a great film. And there's one called The Trick. It's about a 4-minute film. That's good. And there's a Scottish one. I don't know if it's played in the US yet, but it's called Bottom, and it's insane. The poster is the emoji of a pear or whatever it's for a bum. You know what I mean?
I love that.
I'm obviously such a backwards.
I think that
you know what I mean.
Behind.
Behind, not bottom.
I think that's even better.
Behind.
See you later, sorry.
One ticket to behind.
Yeah, they're gonna kill me now. I'll tell you what I saw last night. Hail Mary. Hail Mary?
Oh, Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary.
I need to get to it still.
Going senile. Yes, it is. It's long, but it's pretty cool.
Have you guys watched, by the way, Together with Alison Brie and Dave Franco?
I still haven't watched it.
No, I know. Okay. That's on the list.
Yeah, I still haven't
on the list.
To all those who like a hand to hold, I'd recommend Together.
Okay.
I'd say equally disturbing, possibly, but conceptually, I feel like Great Minds Think Alike. It's a very fun one.
Oh, okay.
We did see the trailer. We talked about that a month or 2 ago.
Yeah, because I know I saw
the trailer together.
Getting stuck together. I think.
Yeah.
So
I referenced it on the mood thing. Yeah,
I'll watch it after the feature is locked.
Yeah, so it doesn't influence how you make.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there already in the works like a feature script or anything in the works yet?
Yeah, the feature version is underway in terms of the
Wow.
the script and pre-planning, but we've got a way to go, I think, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, well, the aim is to get us, all the pressure's on Eliza, to be honest, get the script done. And then we've been talking to a lot of different industry people about, what's the best way to develop it? Because it's all about collaboration and knowing what the marketplace is like and what we shouldn't do and should do. And then sort of, well, you still got to stick to your creative and your beliefs, but like, it's good to know how, because you got to sell it, right? You got to sell the film. So we got to make it our film, but sellable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We've got a
That's
few
half
other
the
things in
battle.
development as well,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
few
Yeah.
other horrors,
yeah.
few other things in the works.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, whether it's the feature version of A Hand to Hold and whatever comes next our way from you guys. Thank you so much, Philip and Eliza, for your time. I really enjoyed
Well,
speaking
thank
to you
you.
today.
You too, man.